Everybody hates Ava.
You're really laughing at some transgenders?
So let's talk about this Ava Tyson mess. She has done and said disgusting things that I do not condone, and no part of this video should be taken as me defending any of that. But as a trans person watching this situation, I am suspicious of what is transpiring, because make no mistake, I am absolutely of the opinion that she was a gross piece of shit. And if you don't know why, we will get into that. But people are taking her actions from nearly a decade ago and using them now against her as a trans woman and against the trans community as a whole to push a very harmful anti-trans narrative. I'm getting Caitlyn Jenner flashbacks right now. Like the currently most known trans woman on YouTube turns out to be f***ing awful, and now it's all of our problem. So let's begin. Ava Tyson was a core member of the MrBeast crew. She came out as trans last year, which, as you would expect, being on the literal biggest YouTube channel, was met with both support and backlash. She did an interview on Anthony Padilla's I Spent a Day With, which of course is a pretty exclusive club, pretty cool to be a part of. But around the same time, there was the dramatic Sunny V2 video talking about how Ava's transition was going to single-handedly be the reason that the MrBeast empire would crumble, with this weird-ass AI art looking thumbnail dramatically titled, "Why Chris Will Soon Be a Nightmare for MrBeast," which Jimmy responded to on Twitter defending her, saying, "Yeah, this is getting absurd. Chris isn't my nightmare. He's my fucking friend, and things are fine. All this transphobia is starting to piss me off." Which I think at the time Ava was still going by Chris, but you gotta love the misgendering while telling everyone to knock off the transphobia. But maybe she hadn't announced that her pronouns were changed yet. I don't know, but there's just something so relatable about that. He said he's a girl and that's the end of it. Whether or not it was worded perfectly, it was Jimmy's way of standing up to transphobia and making a statement in support of Ava. And Sunny V2 even ended up changing the title of his video to "How Will the Chris Tyson Situation Impact MrBeast?" So now it's a question instead of a direct statement of "it's going to be a nightmare." But that was sort of the initial reaction, the initial backlash to her coming out. Of course, there would be continued transphobia, but nothing that would really blow up again until June of this year, when there was another wave of transphobia aimed at Ava, this time targeting her kid. So there's this boomer-ass tweet from someone named Mr. Overprayed with this incredible formatting. "Are you writing a love poem?" Which said, "Speaking of Father's Day, does no one find it extremely odd that MrBeast's friend, who had everything going for him, all the money in the world, a loving wife and kid, supportive friends, just randomly desire to turn into a trans woman? Something ain't right. The higher-ups definitely pressured the MrBeast company to sacrifice one of the members or go through a complete humiliation ritual to stay relevant. No other explanation makes sense other than a deal with the devil. Can't change my mind." No other explanation makes the nearest logical conclusion that anyone could possibly draw from this situation. And then Ava responded to this, pointing out how dumb it is, how close to getting the point you are. Like, yeah, you can have everything going for you and still experience dysphoria. It's almost like it's this own separate issue that having money and fame and friends and family doesn't solve. Nah, it's got to be Satan. So unfortunately, when you respond to transphobia or any sort of hate, really, it just kind of ends up fueling the fire. A bunch of other transphobes jumped on board, calling her a bad parent for being trans. Nick Merckx, who was banned from Twitch for saying the word tranny, tweeted this video, seemingly brushing off the Dr. Disrespect essay allegations.
Yo, checking in. Look, I opened Twitter. Bunch of my mentions are he, they, she, hey, they. Fucking, I identify as a helicopter. God damn it. And I seen the couple tweets about the doc. I'm as taken back as a lot of you guys are, okay? But the fact remains that these are some crazy accusations. Crazy. Big time accusations. And until we know more, until we know them as fact, until they've been proven with evidence, what are we talking about? What's anybody talking about? As far as the leave the little kids alone stuff, this doesn't make it any further from the truth. Leave little children out of your shit. Have a nice day.
And then Ava clipped the beginning and posted it, saying me every time I post on Twitter, to which Nick Merckx responded, "You should be ashamed of yourself leaving behind your wife and child to play pretend. One day you'll wake up and realize what you've done," which was quote retweeted by former Mr. Beast member and vocally anti-Ava, Jake the Viking, saying, "Let him know." And then this was picked up by Keemstar, put on drama alert as if it was news. OG Mr. Beast crew member Jake the Viking agrees with Nick Merckx' claims on trans people, to which Ava's ex and co-parent of their son jumped in and responded in her defense, saying that their lives are the best they've ever been and that he's happy and cared for in both homes. And also, like, if you care about kids, quit making a spectacle of my 4-year-old son and just let us live our lives. Ava responded, the protect the kids crowd when someone is a loving parent versus when their boy is currently facing SA accusations, in reference to Dr. Disrespect, which did not age well, but continues to be relevant as many of the people speaking out against Ava have been vocally supportive of Dr. Disrespect. Mr. Beast also stepped in to defend Ava, saying that she's always with her son and even skips video shoots to spend time with him. And that, again, seemed to be what it took to shut people up. I guess they don't want to risk their shot at being in the next, 100 YouTubers compete for $1 million challenge. So pretty awful things from Ava's past were brought to light that led to Ava deleting her Twitter and stepping down from the Mr. Beast channel, followed by Mr. Beast himself now making a statement disavowing Ava and her actions, as well as completely removing her from the company and launching an investigation into what she did. But she couldn't have done anything that bad, right? She just made some offensive jokes. It was a different time, that's all. No, that's not all. It is so much worse. But yes, offensive jokes were absolutely made, and that is a great place for us to start because it contextualizes where Ava was at this point, which is definitely her Edgelord era. So here are some old tweets that have recently resurfaced. When you're hitting it from behind and she says Hitler did nothing wrong. Nut. When the whole squad together okay. 6 faggots and gravy honestly goes hard. But coming from a person who was at that time presenting as a straight guy, not a great look. When you're dating a Latina and she gives you attitude, wall. Why haven't you cut off your penis yet? I don't want to be a girl mom. Don't trigger me. Wow, what a time capsule that is. Oh, Ava, you became the very attack helicopter you swore to trigger. Don't say you love the anime if you haven't read the manga. We've got whites and colors on a laundry setting, and they're mixed, so it's triggering a KKK person. Quote retweet saying, look at all the black people who have never had a steak that's more than $10. Jesus fucking Christ, bro. Yeah, so we don't need to look at any more of that. This is pretty standard 2016 MAGA edgelord content. It was the sort of shock value humor that most of us grew out of by 8th grade, being posted by every white dude who wanted to be funny but wasn't comedically gifted enough to come up with a punchline that isn't a slur, as well as, dog shit political takes from wannabe debate bros who get off on watching Ben Shapiro trigger SJWs. Wow. There's a term I haven't heard in a while. I got so much shit for being an SJW. But who's getting shit now? Anyways, I think that should give you a thorough idea of the edgy, offensive humor that Ava was going for at that time. Not surprising, given the state of the internet, and her being a self-proclaimed country boy and meme god, who is also described on the Mr. Beast Wiki as being the most vulgar of the group. And if I'm being completely honest, based on my limited consumption of early Mr. Beast content, came off as someone who was a few fries short of a Happy Meal. And speaking of things that are very bad for children, let's take a look at what else Ava was up to at this time. So now we're getting into the real shit, the stuff that people are rightfully very upset about right now, starting with her jokes, her very frequent and persistent jokes about lolly hentai. I hate that I'm having to say those words on my YouTube channel right now. And if you don't know, that is NSFW anime or manga style content of underage girls. So, hate that. There is a particularly disturbed individual on the internet who goes by the name Shadman, who draws these sorts of pictures of children, both fictional characters and actual real human children, including Keemstar's 8-year-old daughter. Bro, the way I would have found that man and taken legal action right there, I can't even describe the shit that he was drawing, but I swear you don't even want to know. This guy is fucked in the head. Anyways, back to Ava Tyson. She was a proud and vocal supporter of Shadman's work. She even bought a poster of one of his drawings, which she tweeted about multiple times, and it can even be seen hanging on their living room wall in the background of an old Mr. Beast video from when they were roommates. Now, when this came out, some folks were saying that she commissioned that drawing. That's not true. It was just something he made and was available, and she purchased it. So, I don't know. I guess that's a little better, but like she still gave him money for this awful shit that he was making. But I do think it should be noted that this wasn't a sexually explicit drawing, as in it's not like depicting a sexual act, but there are overt sexual themes, as well as just like a bunch of weird fucked up shit going on in the photo. So it's a drawing of a girl. She's got braces, so she looks young. She's like doing the Higo face and has a gun in her mouth. She's wearing a hat that says, "Please be patient, I have autism." She's got a fidget spinner earring. She's doing a white power hand signal. Her shirt says, "Bigfoot is real and he tried to eat my ass." And she's in her underwear and she has a BBC tattoo. And Ava tweeted a picture of the poster on the floor with some fidget spinners on it saying, "Bonus fidget spinners to really throw in some extra autism at Shadbase." So whatever the fuck all that's supposed to mean. Like, is it saying that autistic kids should kill themselves? Perhaps it's some sort of commentary on how the fetishization of black men in porn is rooted in racism? Or maybe it's proof of the long suspected connection between Bigfoot and Jeffrey Epstein? No. I think it's just a bunch of overly offensive shit for the sake of being offensive. There is no other point than to say, "Look at how edgy I am, bro." Which is basically what Ava's defense was when she was recently confronted about her support of Shadman by Keemstar. You know, the guy who had his actual 8-year-old daughter drawn, and I can't even finish that sentence. So Keemstar has historically amplified the hate towards Ava, including all the stuff that was just totally unfounded transphobia, like her abandoning her kid to be trans. Obviously, we don't love that. But, I mean, it does make sense now why he's been rooting so hard for her downfall. According to Keemstar, Ava DM'd him in June when the stuff was being posted about her kid.
Recently, you know, Chris Tyson has become trans or whatever, and Chris Tyson has been beefing with Nick Merckx a lot, and they've been going back and forth, right? Nick Merckx's main thing is leave the kids alone. Well, for some reason, that's highly offensive to Chris Tyson. But we covered it on Drumler as fair as possible, right? We covered the whole aspect of this is what Chris is saying. This is what Nick Merckx is saying, right?
She messaged him saying that he was perpetuating this transphobic hate campaign against her and that he needed to stop platforming these transphobes.
All of a sudden, this motherfucker jumps in my DMs, Chris Tyson, starts saying that I'm rallying up a transphobic campaign against her.
And Keemstar was like, "I'm not transphobic. I have a trans employee."
And I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding me. Every single person that made the tweets on Drumler is my employee, Gino, who is trans. And she still decided to preach at me, or he, or whatever you want to call Chris.
And that's on being an ally.
You know, Chris Tyson has become trans or whatever.
So yeah, I have a trans employee, but also I don't owe you shit because you platformed the guy who drew CP of my actual 8-year-old daughter.
I said, look, you supported this artist that drew my kid when she was 8 years old in a sexual manner. You have some fucking nerve to tell me to do better.
Which, I mean, like, yeah. Yes. And then apparently, instead of apologizing, Ava just shrugged it off, saying, "Oh, everyone was into Shadman back then." Basically writing it off as just being an edgy meme.
Didn't apologize, didn't take any accountability. The only thing Chris said was, oh, all YouTubers supported Shadman back then. That was it. That was the cop-out.
And it should be noted that this is the conversation as told by Keemstar, though later when Ava tweeted her apology, Keemstar brought it up again, and Ava didn't do anything to dispute it. So Ava's defense that liking Shadman was just an edgy meme that everyone was in on might hold up if she didn't have a backlog with years of interactions between her and Shadman, as well as other well-known lolicon artists. She was seemingly very active in this space, making references to their comics that you would only understand if you were actually reading them, and she responds to a lot of content depicting children and their relatives, which is just so fucking gross. And she just straight up tweeted this, and this, and this. So if there was any room for plausible deniability here, I didn't find it. Call it a hunch, but I don't think Ava was joking around about actually consuming this type of content. But I will say there is a difference between consuming something horrible and actually doing or wanting to do something horrible. I'm reminded of a really unfortunate Reddit story about a guy who was into NSFW content depicting certain bodily functions. So he hired a woman to help him bring those fantasies to life. But then once he actually got into the act, realized, oh shit, this is extremely gross. I don't want this in real life. But he was too far in to stop. Ended up getting what he paid for, but not what he wanted. So I don't even know. I'm just going to end it with that. So let's finally move on to the big one, the main accusation here, and that is inappropriately messaging minors. And beyond that, she is actually being accused of grooming a young boy. So this started with a difficult to watch video from a YouTuber named Prism42 accusing Ava of grooming a teenage boy when she was in her early 20s.
Chris Tyson reached out to this guy when he was 13 years old. Except the problem with that is Chris Tyson started an online friendship with this guy when he was only 13 years old. Now the problem with that is Chris Tyson was born in July of 1996. Lava GS was born on November 12th, 2003. The problem with that is that there's a 7-year age gap.
And there is just so much that I don't like about this video, starting with the means of how he actually acquired this information, which is unethical to say the least. He contacted the guy who he believed to be groomed by Ava, pretending to be a job prospect, and did a fake interview with him where he cornered him and essentially pressured this information out of him. Which, like, journalistic integrity aside, if you believe someone to be a victim, that could be so triggering. So that in itself should say something about this guy's intentions. And throughout the video, I mean, he spends an absurd amount of time insisting that his intentions are pure, acting like he was somehow forced to do all of these things, and now he's sacrificing everything to make this video, when in reality, if you truly believe you're doing the right thing, you don't have to spend 15 minutes rationalizing it.
I'm not trying to get views off of this. I'm not trying to go, oh man, this is my big hit. I never wanted to be put in this position. It's just this situation I've been thrown into has been very awkward. It's been very hard on me. Like, I've been put in this very awkward position. It's like I never wanted to be put in this awkward position, but as you can see from my viewpoint and my circumstances and everything, like, I had to do what I know is right. I was just bestowed the task to just get this out.
So who exactly bestowed this task upon you?
I guess I was pushed by some kind of guilty conscience or something. I don't know.
Right. And in this 43-minute unedited video where he's reading off printed out screenshots at a park with a Sonichu necklace on display, which if you know, the connotations are absolutely fucked. The video is very disjointed. The evidence is honestly kind of hard to follow because there's no timeline.
He's like 14 years old at this point. Or 15.
And the way that it's all portrayed is extremely inflammatory.
And you have Chris Tyson, who is playing with this guy online on Uno. So I'm not really sure why he's deciding to play a card game with someone so young.
There's a lot of speculation, a lot of jumping to conclusions. Not that Ava really left much of a gap for anyone to jump, But it was there, and of course, with your transphobia sprinkled in.
I do think it's inappropriate that you had someone that says that they're the opposite gender near kids, because I don't think kids should be exposed to that sort of thing.
Now, despite breaking this huge story, that video only has about 50K views. And maybe that's because everybody else is hearing about it from another YouTuber named Brion, who has over 200,000 subscribers as opposed to Prism42's 2,000. And this YouTuber did a classic move of taking Prism42's video and cutting it together with Mario gameplay, where he gives his input, for almost 1 million views. I love YouTube. Though he did manage to shave off 13 minutes of runtime, probably the end bit, where Prism42 just dick-rode Mr. Beast for like 15 straight minutes.
I think you do great work, you do amazing work when it comes to charity. I think what you did when you cured a bunch of people from blindness, you and your organization and your group of people, I think that was a really good thing that you did. You have a lot more experience than I do when it comes to management. I don't have anything against you, Jimmy. I think the work that I see you do, it's fine work, it's great. I don't have anything against anything that you guys do.
Though he insists he's not that interested in Mr. Beast. I mean, he's not doing this just so that he can meet him or talk to him or anything like that. But, you know, if he wants him on a live stream to talk about this stuff, sure, he'll come by.
This is my message to Jimmy from Mr. Beast. I'm going to be honest, I honestly don't really care about you that much. I don't know you personally, and I'm not really trying to look forward to get to know you at all. Like, that was never my intention. And I understand that, like, you definitely aren't gonna like me because of this whole thing, but I do think what you do is great. But I understand there's a lot of people on the platform that want to, like, meet you or get to know you, but I'm just not interested in that sort of thing. I guess I'll say the same thing I said to Chris or Ava, whatever you want to call him. You're free to debate me if you think that I made a mistake or if I'm misunderstood or something bad happened. I mean, obviously, I know you're not going to debate me, but you are free to have me on whatever live stream.
I don't have anything against you other than, like, the fact that, you know, you seem to be okay with
having someone that says they're the opposite gender near kids. That's like one thing it's just one thing that we disagree on. That's it.
I hope he sees it, bro. All right. In all seriousness, though, yes, these videos were dog shit, but they brought to light some pretty damning evidence of unacceptable behavior on Ava's part. So to summarize the accusations, when Ava was in her early 20s, she had a private Discord server with friends both from real life and the internet, and some of those members were minors. And there were conversations being had in that Discord, jokes being made, content being shared that were absolutely, unquestionably inappropriate for minors to be witnessing and engaging with. That, along with some pretty suspicious Twitter interactions between Ava and one of these minors, is what led to the allegations that Ava groomed a young fan. And those accusations have been ran with, shared, and amplified across all corners of the internet.
Why is nobody talking about Cis Tyson?
Yesterday, Ava Tyson of the Mr. Beast crew had a ton of evidence.
I see a lot of people asking me to comment on the Mr. Beast situation or whatever with Chris. Listen, it's fucking simple.
I guess we just kind of have to hope that this doesn't spread, like, some general negativity towards trans people.
So Mr. Beast's tranny friend, he's been caught talking to kids, trying to fuck children. Surprise, surprise.
This guy, Cis Tyson, who I guess he goes by the name Ava now, who abandoned his wife and infant child to pursue an autogynephilia fetish.
And has to lie and say that Cis Tyson is a woman, which is so funny. People care more about misgendering a pedophile than the actual pedophilic acts.
Why is nobody talking about Cis Tyson?
So let's dig a little deeper into these allegations. A now 20-year-old creator known as Lava was a Mr. Beast early adopter, an OG fan before the Beast Empire became what it is today. At 12 years old, he won a CSGO knife from Mr. Beast himself, so it's presumably around this point that the crew becomes aware of Lava, whether or not they know how young he is. Over the next few years, he becomes a known member of a fairly small fandom, and is regularly interacting with the Mr. Beast crew and their content. And I can say from experience that when you are a small content creator, your fans, the people who are enjoying your content, are more like a friend group because there's not a ton of them. And even as you grow, you notice the people who consistently engage with what you're putting out. And it's pretty standard and basically expected that you would engage back with those people. But I'm always really surprised when it comes out, you know, this stuff like with Colleen Bollinger and now with Ava, it just feels like common sense that you don't befriend a 14-year-old. Like, it is abundantly easy to tell from one conversation if you are speaking to a 14-year-old. So to have a friendship with a fan that young is very weird. And that's what Ava did. So this is where shit gets weird. When he's 14, they have a very inappropriate exchange regarding Ava's Patreon, where Ava says she'll post nudes if she gets one more member, which is like a meme. I think it's obviously a joke. But Lava at 14 responds, saying he's joining and calls her big boy. They continue to go back and forth in a weirdly flirtatious way, with the kiss and the wink emoji.
This makes me really uncomfortable, and I don't know why.
Ending with Ava saying that she posted nudes for him. So, like, what the fuck? Now, it would later be clarified that she posted a picture of noodles. So, like, that was, the joke she was setting up the whole time. But of course, anyone with a brain can agree that it doesn't matter what the joke was supposed to be. You don't talk that way with a 14-year-old. There was also this tweet from Lava asking Ava if someone knew about her hentai addiction. Clearly not something he should have known about.
This is really uncomfortable. I don't think we should put this on TV.
Now, by 15, Lava appears to be fully integrated into the friend group and is even made a moderator on the private Discord. And this would be where things cross the line from weird and inappropriate to potentially illegal, if the allegations are true. And Lava has said the explanation for why he was a moderator in this Discord at such a young age is actually because he helped set up the Discord in the first place. He was very tech savvy, very good with the bots and stuff, and Ava had asked for his help. So he basically just set all that stuff up for her as a moderator and then just never left the Discord. Now at this point, a lot of the Discord messages have been leaked. I cannot go over everything. I can't show a lot of what was being said, but I will link a full allegation megathread from Reddit that does include the Discord leaks. But the overall vibe of the Discord seemed to be a place for totally unfiltered, just edgelord shit. Basically exactly what you would expect based on the stuff Ava was posting at the time. It's that same kind of humor now coming from a bunch of different people. There were a lot of sexual jokes being made. There are mentions of Shadman and as well as NSFW content being shared and posted where minors could see it. Ava allegedly had one of the minor mods set up a bot to spam NSFW content, and one of the Discord screenshots even suggests that someone posted CP, not Ava, but someone in the Discord where minors could see it. From what I've seen, if I had to describe it in one word, it would just be raunchy, but you can tell that everything that is being said is in the context of a joke. Like, there's a lot of gross shit being said, but you can tell that it is being said with the intention of trying to be funny. And from what I've seen, there were never any attempts from Ava to coerce or solicit anything sexual. She wasn't making moves on anyone. She honestly didn't seem to be extremely active, but just allowing minors into this space, let alone letting them moderate it, it's just beyond comprehension. Like, that's insane. So this post from the Discord is one of the original ones that was brought up and got a ton of attention. Lava, who was 15, posted that he got a weird Snapchat from Ava with a screenshot of her in front of an American flag saying, "Coming for America." And this was framed in the most inflammatory way. Like people were really acting like this is evidence of a trans woman sending some fetish content of herself masturbating to a child, when like, this is definitely not that. It's not good, but it's not that. And it was later clarified that she sent this in a group chat, not directly to Lava, which I think is a little better than how it originally came off, but still, it's not good. And there was this kind of weird vibe amongst the fans on Discord where they would like jokingly simp for the various MrBeast crew members. And on one hand, this is pretty standard fandom behavior. I mean, go on Tumblr and look up any YouTuber with a following. You're going to see a bunch of teenagers saying the same kind of shit, but being in a chat with the actual creators and the creators not, shutting it down or doing anything to stop it, I think is definitely pretty weird. But I don't think it's really fair to use that as proof that Ava was grooming her fans, especially when these things weren't only being said about Ava. In Prism's video, he spends a long time going through, I think it was a channel dedicated to Carl.
I love Carl though. Carl is amazing, and that is a fact. True, He hugged me before Chris managed to. Carl simps for me. Who doesn't simp for Carl? I think we all simp for Carl. I know, right, Teehee? Offering to buy me ice cream if I do stuff for him. Carl reading all the simping, like, at Carl, see you Tuesday, baby girl.
And though these things were being said about Carl, Prism doesn't feel the need to look into Carl whatsoever and uses that as further evidence that Ava is, doing something predatory here. Now, at 16, Lava met Ava in person. And this again was framed in the most inflammatory way, as if this was some sketchy, low-key to catch a predator type meetup.
And as you can see right there, there's Carl right there, there's Chris Tyson right there. Chris Tyson was talking to this guy since he was 13. Chris Tyson was in college. The moment he was able to drive, he takes a camper van out in the middle of the woods, which, by the way, very secluded area. Let me talk about that. Anytime that someone is taking a camper van somewhere, bringing it out in the desert or the middle of the woods, it's very unnecessary because there's RV parks, there's the Walmart parking lot, there's plenty of areas you can go instead of going to a place that's very unfamiliar to you to camp out there, especially in a secluded area. So the real question is, if he was talking to Chris Tyson, who is interested in both men and women since he was 13 years old, and Chris Tyson was in college, why did he take a camper van out to see him? You meet up in person, it all looks very suspicious, and that is why when we interviewed him, we were trying to ask if he had been molested.
But it was actually for a MrBeast event. He met the whole crew, and he was with his family. His family took him there, but it was really portrayed as if Ava lured him out into the woods in a camper van in a secluded area by himself, but he was actually just hired to go help work on this MrBeast live stream, which was near the campground that his family already stayed at every year, so his parents took him out there in a camper, so not really that scandalous. So those have been the main pieces of evidence that Ava groomed Lava, but after these videos came out, Lava came forward immediately denying any of it being true, saying he was tricked into giving this information and that it was totally misrepresented and that nothing inappropriate happened between him and Ava, which is tricky because while I believe him that there was never an attempt from Ava to try to push any sort of romantic or sexual relationship with Lava, it is undeniable that the way they were interacting was absolutely unacceptable and inappropriate. Ava made a statement on Twitter apologizing for her past behavior, saying if she ever hurt or offended anyone, it was not her intention, which I'm calling bullshit on. I think that there were quite a few posts that she made with the explicit intent of offending people. She goes on to say she's stepping away from the MrBeast channel to focus on family and mental health, but that she never groomed anyone, and then reiterates that she's sorry for how she used to act online, but says to lump these two factors together to create a narrative that my behavior extended beyond bad edgy jokes is disgusting and did not happen. In past years, I have learned that my old humor is not acceptable. I cannot change who I was, but I can continue to work on myself. I don't want these accusations to impact the hundreds of people who work at MrBeast, which is why I have stepped away. In my opinion, this would be a perfectly good apology if the only controversy were the offensive, edgy jokes and memes that she was posting, because that's all she seems to take accountability and actually apologize for, when that's gotta be the least of anyone's concern. I mean, who really cares that she had an Edgelord era 8 years ago and posted offensive memes? If that were the only thing to come out about her, most people would not blink twice at the situation, and while I think it's great that she wants to clarify that she's grown up and matured and doesn't feel that way anymore or stand by the content she used to post, there is a lot more she needs to own up to and explain beyond just flatly saying, I didn't groom anyone, because maybe that is the case, but speak on that. She steps down and apologizes, deletes all of her tweets, leaves social media, and then there is a huge Discord leak with a lot of messages coming out that really showcase the extent of how inappropriate that space was for minors. So then MrBeast makes a statement saying that he's disgusted and opposed, to what Ava's done, and taken immediate action to remove Ava from the company, the channel, and any association with MrBeast, and that he has hired third-party independent investigators who will be doing a comprehensive investigation and will take any further actions based on their findings. And following up these Discord leaks, Lava also makes another statement saying, you know what, this shit was worse than I remember, still standing by the fact that he wasn't groomed, but he absolutely recognizes that this was not appropriate in any way, and that he appreciates the action that is being taken by MrBeast about this situation. And that is pretty much where the main situation with these accusations ended. However, another former Discord member who was also a minor at the time came forward with this 2-part Twitter video saying he was preyed upon by Ava when he was 15. And this is Nathan W., who was in some of the earlier Discord screenshots as Nathan.rtx. And his claims in this video are, you'll see. Let's just roll the clip.
Chris Tyson from MrBeast used me, manipulated me, and did very inappropriate things with me while I was about 15 years old. I was actually friends with Lava GS at the time, who is the main victim of Chris that everyone has been talking about these last few days, who claims he isn't a victim, but we all know he is, and we all know he probably got paid off. Not only that, but he's also under an NDA from when he worked for MrBeast Gaming for 2 years, and he tried to get me to join MrBeast Gaming himself, Lava. He's the one who actually sent me the contract and tried to get me to sign the NDA, at which point I ended our friendship because I knew they were just trying to silence me.
Right, so his friend tries to get him a job on one of the biggest YouTube channels in the world as a covert means of silencing him on a controversy that wouldn't come out until 4 years later. So I guess they were playing the long game, a highly calculated move from the MrBeast crew who were going to these great lengths to cover up Ava's behavior, but somehow never thought to delete her weird tweets. Yeah. Okay. Also, hearing that Lava signed an NDA is completely unsurprising. I don't know what kind of gotcha this guy thinks that was, but as a YouTuber, I can say that I have signed countless NDAs. I have sent out NDAs to be signed. Even when I'm working with my friends, we all sign NDAs. It's just the standard when you have multiple people working on content. And NDAs also don't cover criminal activity. Like, think about what a ridiculous legal loophole that would be. You could just murder someone and then have the witnesses sign NDAs, and now no one can testify against you. Like, it's not how it works. And Lava responded saying these statements were completely untrue, that Nathan was actually kicked out of the Discord for being unstable, verbally attacking and lashing out at other members, and going on to say, I have never sent him any contract and I have not been under any NDA since 2022. I have not received any payment, nor are any of my socials monetized. I did inform him that he might be offered a job to help work in Minecraft videos around the time I was, but this never happened. And one of the leads for MrBeast Gaming, who Lava says was his direct supervisor, also made a statement saying, I know who was sent a contract and who wasn't. I have never heard of this Nathan guy and he was never sent a contract. There's a reason he's not showing receipts for it. They don't exist. Now, most of Nathan's video would just be reiterating a lot of the claims that were already made against Ava, stuff we've already talked about in this video, so I'm not going to go through the whole thing. But he mentions being called dad, he brings up the NSFW bot, and mostly just how inappropriate the Discord space was for minors, and saying that looking back now, he feels really uncomfortable about those interactions, which of course is totally valid, but he does make a few new allegations saying that Ava promised to pay them for their work modding the Discord but never did, and says that before the Discord went public, Ava had the mods scrub the inappropriate content. But despite making this video to show that he was preyed upon by Ava, he doesn't actually show any interactions between him and Ava that are inappropriate or really anything to back that claim up. It was mostly just about how bad the Discord was. Now, I'm not going to sit here and discount this person's claims, but many of them sounded extremely conspiratorial. And in Lava's response, he refutes many of the new claims and ends it by saying Nathan was more involved with Jake the Viking. Now hold on to your asses because this is where this story takes an astonishing turn. Because in Dogpack 404's expose series on MrBeast, he interviewed ex-employee Jake Weddle, who recounted a bunch of awful shit that was going on behind the scenes, and when asked if he ever witnessed anything sketchy from Ava, he said no.
I probably hung out with Ava the most out of the main cast. Sometimes there'd be like an offhanded joke that's a little gross. I mean, I'm a stand-up, so I'm very desensitized to that. I didn't hear anything that was like, whoa, that's crazy.
But revealed that a different member of the crew was a registered sex offender.
Well, there was a known sex offender, registered sex offender, convicted sex offender on the registry and everything. who worked there.
And not just any sex offender, all right, a convicted child rapist who pled guilty to sexually assaulting a girl between the age of 1 and 11 years old. And that rapist was the brother-in-law of none other than Jake the Viking. That's right, this is Jake the Viking and his convicted child rapist brother-in-law who got him his job on the MrBeast channel. The same Jake the Viking that has been grandstanding on Twitter, so vocal about Ava Tyson, while at the same time defending Dr. Disrespect. He is exposed for the truth about his brother-in-law, and of course, what does he do? Well, he says his brother-in-law did nothing wrong. It's so easy for a young girl to cry wolf, and so many men are wrongfully accused. And he starts coping hard on Twitter. He's arguing with anyone who dares to call out his blatant hypocrisy, and even getting community noted, getting caught in lies and contradictions as he tries to downplay this as much as possible. And that's not even it. I'm not even kidding. It still gets worse, because remember earlier when Lava said Nathan was more involved with Jake the Viking? Well, that was true, because Jake the Viking was apparently good friends with the 17-year-old Nathan.
Just me and Nate here, hanging out.
Jake, hold me.
I felt it in my ass. Dude, I
okay,
felt
play it back. It's almost 6
Link
a.m.
arms, boys?
What?
What'd you say? Is that link arms?
One to link arms. Go ahead and turn that off.
And flew Nathan out as a minor to come stay with him and introduced him to his brother-in-law Delaware. So, in other words, Jake the Viking flew out a minor to hang out with a convicted child rapist.
I'm scared.
Nathan even admitted to spending time with Delaware, and then later tried to lie in Jake's defense and say that he never met him, but that was called out by one of his own friends who literally quoted his previous message where he said he did meet him. So both Nathan and Jake the Viking are caught lying, trying to backpedal and minimize this situation, while still trying to go after Ava, because Nathan has announced that he has the total backlogs of the Discord and he is going to publicize them, do a huge full Discord link, expose the NSFW channel, and finally prove once and for all that Ava was grooming children. He confirms multiple times that he has the backlogs of the NSFW channel that he will be releasing, so he keeps teasing this big Discord leak, announces a scheduled time for it to be released to the public, and then it never drops.
I wanted to give my statement about what happened on Sunday regarding the Chris Tyson NSFW logs that were announced to be released by myself and why they were never released.
He says, well, he slept in that day.
I had actually slept in the morning that I announced the NSFW logs.
And then, he looked at the file and what do you know, it was actually never there in the first place.
When I made this statement on the podcast and made that tweet, I genuinely believed we had the NSFW channel. However, I was completely mistaken. It was miscommunication on my part, and I should have double-checked my sources. However, we do not have this channel, and we never had this channel.
It was all just a big misunderstanding. And hey, maybe that's the case, who knows? But I for one can't help but speculate that maybe someone else was in that Discord channel, perhaps a friend of Nathan's that he didn't want to get caught in the crosshairs of all this, and in order to protect that person, he decided to not go through with publishing the NSFW channel. Because of course, any adult who was posting in that channel or interacting with minors in that channel would also be at fault. Of course, I can't say for sure what happened here, but we've seen Jake the Viking and Nathan both lying and contradicting themselves multiple times throughout this, and after all of this build up to release this file, for him to just suddenly realize, oops, I never had it in the first place, it seems pretty convenient. I also just can't even wrap my mind around how Nathan's accusations against Ava in his original video included the fact that she was playing video games with him when he was a teenager.
This turned into us having lots of private conversations with Chris and playing video games with him for hours on end.
But when it's revealed that Jake the Viking flew him out as a minor to come and stay with him, he says, no, it's cool, we're friends. We've been friends for over a year. Since I was 16, we've been playing video games together online. So when a 16-year-old plays video games online with Ava, that's an accusation, but when that same 16-year-old plays video games online with Jake the Viking, well, it's a defense. And saying that Ava allowing him as a minor into that Discord with the NSFW content is her preying on him, but when Jake the Viking flew him out as a minor and introduced him to a convicted child rapist, he did nothing wrong. I mean, listen, obviously neither of those things are great, but if it were me, I would probably rather see a link to some hentai than go to the home of a convicted rapist. therapist. So that wraps up the grooming allegations. However, in the wake of all of this, another accusation would come to light. Now, Ava's former assistant, who is also a trans woman, has come forward with her story and her allegations of being sexually assaulted by Ava when she worked for her, basically being in a situation where Ava was her boss and she couldn't say no. That's also going to be in the thread linked in the description. I'm not going to dig into that because there's just so much there. So that is a whole other situation. I think it is very important to look into and to, address. But with this video, I just want to focus on the grooming allegations because that's what I've looked into and that's what I have opinions about. And my opinion is that what Ava did was so far beyond the line. It was weird and gross and something I really don't understand, but she wasn't grooming Lava. I don't think she was trying to lure him into a sexual relationship. I do think that she genuinely thought it was perfectly okay for her to be friends with a young fan because she is not a smart person. I don't really have any reason to sugarcoat this, but I didn't watch a lot of early Mr. Beast content, but from what I did see, every time Ava opened her mouth, I felt like I was losing brain cells. So to me, if you see teenagers as your peers, that's probably because you have the maturity or intelligence of a teenager. Otherwise, it is just common sense that what you're doing is extremely inappropriate and weird. It doesn't matter what your intentions are. Talking to minors like that is harmful even if you're not trying to harm them. That being said, the way this has turned into a feeding frenzy for transphobes, when this happened 8 years ago and Ava transitioned last year, tell me, where was this huge concern about grooming kids, when she was one of the boys, when she was one of the wholesome Mr. Beast boys? Because those tweets were there. They were sitting there for 8 years, but nobody's digging that shit up until now, after they tried to say that her transition would ruin the Mr. Beast channel, and that got shut down. Then they went for her kid and said she was a bad parent because she was trans, and that got shut down. And now they finally found some shit to be upset about, rightfully so, but it has fuck all to do with her being trans. And you've got these huge YouTubers and streamers calling Ava a child groomer to their millions of followers, while actively defending Dr. Disrespect. Not saying a word about Cody Ko. Not a peep was said about calling Bollinger. So, it's not actually about exposing groomers. It's just an excuse for them to be transphobic. That's why they frame it in the most inflammatory way possible. Like how the original Prism 42 video starts with him saying that Ava might have molested Lava. But he doesn't know for sure. We can't say for sure.
I do not know if when they met up, if he was molested or if he acted inappropriately towards him. I do not know these things.
And that's in reference to the time when Lava's family took him to the Mr. Beast event and he met the whole crew with his family present. You're not doing yourself any favors by misrepresenting the facts to make the situation look worse than it already is, because it's already very bad. So it just calls into question your credibility. And then framing the whole thing as a trans issue, now it seems like you're pushing an agenda and not so much actually trying to bring awareness to a fucked up situation. And if you're gonna sit there and be transphobic in the name of protecting children, you can't turn around in the same video and talk for 15 minutes straight about how much you love Mr. Beast when he was culpable in this stuff. Mr. Beast had also tweeted about Shadman, saying that being recognized by Shadman was all he ever wanted and he could quit. And the poster was hanging in his living room too. You could even say that he was the first person in the DMs with Lava when Lava was 12 and he sent him a knife. That can't be good. And Mr. Beast is also literally in the Discord screenshots having inappropriate conversations. And he hired a registered sex offender who they call on screen by the nickname Delaware, which he apparently got from raping a child in the state of Delaware. So please be so fucking real. That's it. All right. In conclusion, I hope that the recent sexual assault allegations from Ava's former assistant are thoroughly investigated and looked into with the same tenacity that everyone brought to the groomer allegations. I will be waiting patiently for that to happen, though I suspect that might not be the case because the victim is an adult trans woman, and that doesn't feed into the narrative. That's all. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to join the Goose Troop. You can join my channel membership and become a member of the Gaggle, which gets you access to my private Discord. Yeah, just subscribe. Give this video a thumbs up. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.